Hey RT family, Ryan Reynolds here with Keller Williams Consultants Realty with your December joyful 2022 real estate market update. Hey, so what are we going to talk about this month? Well, we're going to do the same thing we do every month, which is talk about the three top statistics. Maybe not every month, but a lot of months. We'll talk about three of the top statistics that's going on in the greater Columbus, Ohio market. First one's going to be inventory. What's our inventory situation look like? The second one will be interest rates. What are interest rates doing? Because those greatly affect the real estate market. And the third thing will be pricing. Like, where are the prices at compared to what they were and where they're going? And the other thing we're going to do today is we're going to talk about an article that was written by Jim Weicker from September 15th. And I want to make sure everybody saw it. It's a great article, and so we'll bring that up. So let's get into it, and we're going to talk about inventory first. So with inventory, what we look at are the months of inventory. And months of inventory are basically the amount of months it would take to sell everything out of the market at the current pace of home sales. And actually, we're going to look at the based on pending home sales. And if nothing else comes on the market, how many months does it take to sell the entire market out? So the lowest we were this year was right at 0.4 months. That was back in, I think it was March of 2022, where we had 0.4 months. And so what that means is we had basically less than 2 weeks. If we didn't bring anything new on the market, everything was gone. And so that is wicked fast, probably maybe one of the fastest in terms of the entire market that I've ever seen. Now, currently we are sitting at 1.4 months of inventory, and that is over 3 times as many months of inventory as we had at the lowest time, but still 1.4 months, to put things in perspective, is really low because a balanced market is generally considered 4 to 6 months of inventory, and we are probably about 3 times lower than that. So even though we're higher than we have been, we are still in a great position. It's a seller's market, though albeit a little bit slower seller's market, which actually we would typically expect this time of year. So that's what's going on with inventory. So the next thing we're going to talk about is interest rates. Now, interest rates have done some kind of interesting things. I mean, you obviously hear all the time about the Federal Reserve raising the interest rates, and those definitely impact mortgage lending rates. However, they aren't the entire story when it comes to mortgage interest rates. As the Federal Reserve has raised the federal funds overnight lending rate 3/4 of a point for a couple of 3 consecutive quarters, and they're looking at doing a 1/2 a point this month. We would expect to see interest rates going up continually. However, that's not the real story. So if you look at what's actually going on, you can see that interest rates peaked out right around 7, 7.25, maybe 7 1/8, something like that for your normal 30-year fixed mortgage. And now they've fallen back down in about the 6.5% range. And so what does that mean? Well, it means that the new applications are, it's just like supply and demand. The new applications are not as much as the supply of money still, so interest rates are starting to come down a little bit. Now, as that happens, I really expect to see people become more comfortable with a little bit higher interest rate, and they'll start shopping again, especially as we get past the holidays. I think things are going to really pick up here in the January and then also in the next spring timeframe. So that's what's going on with interest rates, and we're going to get into sold pricing next. Okay, so now let's go ahead and get into pricing. So pricing is what everybody wants to know about because they want us to show them money, and that's what we're going to do. So month over month pricing, just to give you the bad news first, is down 0.75%. So from October to November, the prices fell 0.75%. That's a pretty darn small number, and I don't even know if it's statistically relevant. However, that is what it is. Now, year over year, if we look at those price changes, we're actually up 10.9% when you look at the median sold price. And if you look at the average sold price, we're actually up 11.3%. So that's all really good news. And I think that pricing is definitely coming up year over year, and it is kind of typical that things slow down this time of year, so that is something that could happen. If you look at the days on market, or actually we're going to look at 2 other statistics. We're going to look at, the first thing is the average price that people are getting compared to what they're asking. In other words, what's the sale price as a function of the original listing price? And that number is at 97% last month. Just to give you kind of a benchmark, the highest it was this year was in March, and that was at 105%, and then it has kind of dropped off slowly since then, but then that does typically happen most years, and in an average market, a regular market, 96.5% would be considered normal. And that just means that when people ask a certain price, they're actually not quite getting that, they're getting a little bit less than that, and people are having a little bit of negotiating, which probably feels more normal to a lot of people. Now, the other thing on this graph is the days on market. And so days on market is how long does it take a house to go from on the market to in contract. Now, the average has come up to right at 23 days, which is still faster than the 30 days a lot of people think about. And it's way faster than it was back in 2008, 9, 10, where we were seeing over 180 days on market. So what does all that mean? Well, it means that your house is worth more than it was last year by more than 10%. If you wanted to sell, it would sell for probably 97, 98% of list price. And if it's in really good condition, it's going to probably even sell higher, especially if it's in a good area. And it's also going to sell pretty quick. The average one is selling in 23 days. So if your house is better than average, then you're probably going to sell faster than that. So that's what we wanted to talk about with pricing. All right, now let's jump into the last thing I wanted to talk about today, which is an article. Actually, it was in the Columbus Dispatch that I thought was really good. It's by Jim Weicker, and it was published on September 15th, which I know is a couple months ago at this point. However, I think it's still pretty relevant because the studies that were done in the article were actually a little bit longer term. And actually, the articles were based on data, which is amazing because a lot of people in the media seem to not really actually take data into account. So what this article did is it looked at, or what the researchers did is they looked at 10 county greater Columbus area, and they estimated that we're going to add 145,000 to 202,000 jobs over the next decade, and that's through 2032. And each one of those jobs is roughly going to require one new household or one new place to live. And so that equates to right around 14,000 new homes per year that we should be building in the greater Columbus area in order for the demand to be satisfied. Now, we're building 8,000 to 8,500 or so homes per year right now. So if you just look at that from a macroeconomic scale and you then kind of translate that to pricing, what that means is that not only are we in a seller's market now, but we're not building homes at a rate that's going to keep up with demand. And so it's actually going to get even worse than it probably has been recently. I don't know if it'll get quite as bad as it was this past summer because interest rates were so much lower when people started buying, and now they're quite a bit higher. But if they do come back down or even stabilize, just the demand should stay, actually the demand is going to be crazy, and the supply is just not going to keep up. So if you're wondering if your house is a good investment, I think that is the definitive proof, at least in my mind, that this is a good investment for the long term. So that's what we have for you this month on the market update. Now, I hope you have a great holiday season. I hope you eat lots of food and gain lots of weight and have a great, joyous time. So look forward to the real estate market. There's lots of hope there and lots of hope as we go into the new year. That's all we have for now. Ryan Reynolds' team, unlimited opportunities and exceptional experiences.